put that across really well, and you get Robocop in. I love the way he just bends the front of the gun. It's like, oh shit, fuck me, and then he just throws him into that sort of like drinks part, doesn't he? And it's just like, okay, thank you for your cooperation. Those lines are coming out really well. Like these are the lines that you have to be careful with, but I think they do a good job here. But I just love the way that guy tries to run away, and by running into Robocop's arm, he just literally splats himself straight into the cooling machine over there. And then, of course, in the background, we get that, I'll buy that for $1. So that's still going on, part of the satire around it. We then get to this next part, Matt, which was very on-the-spot directing here, because originally the screenwriter for this, these guys that were, arguably the rapists in it, I think that's what they were going for here. The original shot was going to be shot just past the guy's cheek, past her cheek, and shoot the guy in the head. But when Paul Verhoeven saw how that her legs were kind of wide enough, he was like, "Hang on a minute, we could do another shot here." How about testicles? And that's where they went. Is that kind of like a humorous part there, Matt? The fact that he did go for that shot, and he gets that shot, and the way it comes off there, because this is kind of a harsh scene at the beginning, and you're thinking, holy Christ, this is a completely different end of the spectrum. But the shot itself, Matt, that must have got the laughs, I'm guessing, around most of the cinemas there when he pulls that trick out of the hat.
Well, yeah, I guess it is kind of funny, but at the same time, those blood packs don't mess around.
No, they do a very distinct job.
He shoots him 3 bullet bursts, and they got to have a large splash. So the brutality of it kind of tones down the humour, and it almost makes it feel as well that he's just getting what he just deserves, really.
Yeah. I love the way he's like, your move, creep, afterwards. And then, of course, the woman's in absolute shock. She sees this, like, bullet hole through her dress. And she goes running up to her. It's like, oh, God, I was so scared. And, it's like, thank you. And, Robocop's just like, I love that, just that blameless look. And he's like, madam, you have suffered an emotional shock. It's just so distinct. I will notify a rape crisis center, and it's just like, okay. Just the way she looks at him. I think what's coming across here, Matt, is that as an audience, we are at this point led to believe that Murphy is no longer Murphy. This is just they're using his body, part of his body, maybe his brain or whatever, but this is pure robot here. The way he's reacting and everything else, this is robotic. The way he's answering is robotic. And I think they do a good job of putting that across, Matt, that at this point we are not to believe that he has any kind of past memories whatsoever.
Yeah, it's doing that very well. Because, it's very, like you said, he is robotic, and there is no emotion. Because you'd think after an incident like that, you would have a little bit of sympathy and compassion. But it's almost like on a telephone, having the automated operator advising you on what to do. But the only time I do feel a little bit of personality is when he turns up in the next scene to sort of help out the mayor, and there's almost a slight hint of cockiness into the way he's just like, well, I'm going to deal with this.
Yeah, well, the next scene we get is where we see Robocop. There's a man now. He's not been, I believe, Matt, he's not been sort of voted in, so he's gone absolutely mad here. And Robocop, of course, just takes to the steps. He's not messing about. He's going to go and deal with this straight away. But this is kind of comical lines here, isn't it, Matt? With this guy, this mayor, who's putting out these demands. And the whole car thing is just hilarious, isn't it? When it's like, come on, Miller. What do you want? You want a fast car? He's like, yeah, I want it really fast. Lots of gas. It's just like, come on, where are you going with this stuff? But it's hilarious, the way they do this shot. And of course, in the end, he's got these guys up. But what I love about this is just how, one is that heat vision thing. That's really well done. And I believe, Matt, Verhoeven made all those people get absolutely naked. I don't know if you read that, but to get the shot the way they did with it's kind of like the Predator kind of vision, I suppose. That's what they had to do. You had to, completely take the clothes off to get it. I'm not saying, I don't know that they were the exact same actors that we're seeing in the room, but that's how they did that shot. It was just a much cheaper way of doing it. And of course, Robocop in the end just literally goes through the wall, Matt, and just pulls him out. I think there are two different shots depending on if you watch the uncut version, so the theatrical version. I don't know what one you last watched, Matt, if you'd have noticed the difference here when he does that and grabs him. But it's hilarious to me when he does put him through the window. And those cameras down the bottom that are doing the news, they just literally follow him straight to the bottom of the floor. It was so funny just how they did that, don't want to miss a beat. And it just cuts to that, back to the news, and we get this sort of Robocop. Who is he? What is he? Where does he come from? And it's kind of, I guess, like a little mini montage here that we're seeing Robocop. He's kind of visiting schools. I like the fact they put this in, Matt, because it just gives more story arc to Robocop at this point. It gives more background of what the hell's going on, and he does that whole feedback of like, "Hey, Robo, excuse me, any special message for kids watching at home?" And he's just like, "Stay out of trouble." And what's fascinating as well is we're back in the newsroom. We've called our favourite news guy, and this time they're talking about more stuff going on with like Mexican nationals. Just news out of nowhere. And of course, then we get this famous advert, Matt. Now, I'm sure if they would have made a game of this would have probably sold at the time. But we get this whole red alert, and you crossed my line of death, and this whole thing with his family on this gold game of this commercial, and this dad's sort of like, "That's it, Buster, no more military aid," and just this bang, and it's nuke 'em. Get there before they get you. I love that. I love the fact they put this in. It just makes it so much more fun to go along with it. There is this real world from the whole thing. At this point, Matt, are you enjoying this film? Is this it seems like layer upon layer they have fitted everything into this. It's very tightly fitted. Is this very still well paced? We're 40 minutes in here. Is this still very well paced film? Would you have changed anything the way it had gone at this point?
No, I mean, that's one of the beauties of it. I mean, I think really all aspects of this are well timed and well placed, and every scene has a specific meaning which it definitely hammers across perfectly. And I think even like you said about the advert, breaking up with that, it's just now again highlighting the whole sort of nuclear war hysteria they got going on there. Mm-hmm. And now I always looked at this as a kid watching this advert, and I'm thinking, man, I'd play that game.
Yeah, I would as well. I think, definitely, definitely no doubt. So, moving on to the next scene, and we go to one of my favourite parts in the film. It always makes me chuckle as I've got older and revisited this film, is this whole part, Matt, where we see, Bob Morton, who's now, he's been promoted as like an executive now. So they swipe in, Matt, with these cards. It's like, "Hey, Bobby boy, welcome to the club." Like they've both got these little handheld card keys to go in these executive bathrooms, toilets. I mean, I don't really know. I had to look this up. I was thinking, is this a real thing? Do they have these back at those times? Well, funny enough, they didn't have many of them back at these times, but nowadays it is a real thing. They do have only executives only written on it, and I'm not sure you have to get in by cards, but it's probably something quite hokey like that. Kind of an amusing part there, Matt, that they use that. But it's kind of going back to the original thing about the satire of this film. It's a small detail in this film that make it so kind of comedic and comical in the way they do it. Like it's not a major deal made of it, but it's just funny that they put it in this film, because it's not exactly that it needs to be there in any means necessary, but it's the small subtleties that I like that. How about for you, Matt? Was that ever a thing when you was younger and you watched that? Was that ever a thing like thinking, why are they using cards to get in the toilet?
Yeah, I did used to think that, and I just used to kind of think, oh, it must be something to do about being rich and a businessman. It must be what they do. Yeah. Obviously, being young and not actually being that aware of what this means. But yeah, I guess for these people, such a small little thing like that was a huge deal. Getting your own special card and the special facilities, which really aren't that much different from what you can see in this film. They all look the same.
Yeah, it's funny. I listened to the commentary over this part, and it's interesting that they actually built this like on a set. Like they couldn't find a toilet that was like a facility that matched what Verhoeven was trying to put across. And I know that they, one of the best shots in this scene, Matt, is the shot where you see kind of Dick Jones is on like the toilet, and they do that shot from where you just see his legs, and it just goes straight into like the urinals where Bob Morton's like obviously talking garbage about Dick Jones. I think the other guy said, I hear Jones is pretty pissed, and they're all laughing about him, and all the rest of it. But it's hilarious because you're going to get like, I think there's like another 3 executives in there, and they now kind of just run out the door because they realise Dick Jones is in the cubicle. And then, of course, as you hear that flush sound, the guy next to him just literally zips up, leaves with this huge wet stain down his pants, and just walks out the door. I kind of like that scene. I just think it's kind of a funny thing. I mean, it's been used in so many films now as well that you forget Robocop kind of was one of the first that did, especially that kind of shot with the camera. The whole inside the cubicle. I just thought that was really, really masterful type work. I mean, it's a subtle thing, but when you watch it back and you look eye for detail, I think that's pretty good. But Matt, we get this scene now where the character Bob Morton, he's, I guess if we're looking at him from a story arc here, Matt, like Bob Morton in this film, because we haven't really spoke about him. Is he a hero guy or is he a villain guy to you, Matt? Because people are, whenever I've sat down and watched this film, it's very 50-50. Like some people see him as like a guy who's just trying to get up in life. He's a guy in a bad world, or he's just an arsehole, like Reed described him in some of the other scenes. But what's your take of Bob Morton in this film? Like, is he somebody you get behind because he is in the midst of Dick Jones and all the rest of it, or is he kind of just another kind of piece, a pawn, if you will, within OCP?
Well, I can see how people would say he's a bad guy considering the company he works for, but I don't see the guy like that. I mean, yeah, of course, you've got to be selfish in that kind of world to get further up the ladder. You have to sort of be more self-promoting than anything else. But standing up to someone like Dick Jones is a good thing to do. And when he's got a better product, and which we can see, Robocop actually works, and actually can do the job as compared to Ed 209. I mean, I'd say he's working for the greater good. He's out there, he's trying to help prevent crime, but actually pushing a product that works.
Yeah, I blow hot and cold with him. Like, there are some scenes where I'm really behind him, and then there's others where I'm like, yeah, he's a bit of a douche. He doesn't really care too much about his friends or anything. But, it's funny how people see him. But I like the fact that there is that grey area. Like, it's not there to the audience to say you've got to like him or you haven't got to like him. Like, it's sort of, he's just a regular going guy who's just, like you say, trying to make it up in the world. I like this scene, though. This is the sort of like first sort of, head-to-head confrontation that we get between Dick Jones and Bob Morton. And it's hilarious now when you watch it because I just love the lines in it. But it's like, Dick Jones sort of comes up sort of almost behind him as Bob Morton's doing. And I love the shot that they do there, and it's really well executed. That I think he says the lines something like, I remember when I was a young executive, I used to call the old man funny names. I am Butt, Boner. Once I even called him Asshole. But there was always respect. And you just overstepped it, buddy boy. Really, it's kind of hilarious. And then, they go on about how, he says, about... the funny thing here, Matt, is just the how Dick Jones kind of comes across. Like, he's got no care about if this product works. He's like, I had a guarantee for military sale, Ed 209. It was going to be military or revelation program parts for the next 25 years and a sort of reservation, and all this type of stuff. And it's like, who cares if it worked or not? It's like, okay, so he doesn't really give a stuff whether this thing works or not. He's just cared that he had 25 years set up on this. And of course, by then, I don't think Dick Jones would have been around that longer. So maybe that was his retirement plan. to have this product out. But of course, the harsh reality is that Dick explains he's the number 2 around here. Pretty simple math, something along those lines. And I love that thing, man, where he just, it's kind of like a